and a warm welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to Global TV News Cycle, live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. President Bola Tinubu has assured potential investors that their investments are safe in Nigeria. In a release on Friday by a presidential spokesperson, Ajuri Ngalale, said Tinubu made this call while speaking at the Saudi Africa Summit in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The president said Nigeria is desirous of enhancing collaboration with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on combating terrorist organizations such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, and other violent extremist groups which have been terrorizing the Lake Chad and Sahel regions. Speaking on climate change and how it affects Africa, Tinubu said climate change has led to an expedited rate of desertification and ongoing flooding in Nigeria and many other countries of Africa. He commended the efforts of the kingdom for its various initiatives to fight the effects of climate change, adding that Nigeria is also working on several initiatives to fight the effects of climate change and energy poverty. On the situation in the Middle East, particularly in Palestine, Tinubu reiterated Nigeria's call for an immediate ceasefire and the pursuit of a peaceful resolution to the conflict. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of 3 new executive commissioners to serve in the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, and the redeployment of 1 current executive commissioner pending their confirmation by the Nigerian Senate. A statement by the presidency says Tinubu approved the reshuffling and replacement based on his deeply informed assessment of all factors concerning the sector, with a view to establishing a regulatory framework and culture that comprehensively disincentivizes errant behaviors and incentivizes diligent and rules-based business practices across the industry. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Rinsola Abiola as the Senior Special Assistant on Citizenship and Leadership. In this role, the president believes she would work closely with the leadership of the Ministry of Youth. Abiola is a public relations professional and youth and gender advocate. She's also a founding member of the party's Young Women's Movement and was appointed as one of 3 youth representatives to the party's Board of Trustees in 2015. President Bola Tinubu sympathizes with the family and the Nigerian Army and the Society of Medical Practitioners in Nigeria and the passing of Aderonke Kale, a retired Major General. The late Kale, who passed away at 84, is widely acknowledged to be the first female Major General in the Nigerian Army and the first female commander of the Nigerian Army Medical Corps. She's retired from the Nigerian Army in 1997. The president described her as a pace-setter and her death as a painful loss to the country. President Tinubu prayed for the repose of the soul of the lead officer and encouraged her beloved family to take solace in the peerless legacy she left behind. Major General Kale was a recipient of many awards for her contributions to the field of medicine. She was also a philanthropist who positively impacted many lives. The federal government says it will start charging owners of completed unoccupied houses triple ground rents instead of single rate normally charged from 3 months after completion. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, said this in an interview with newsmen during his continuation to site visits of housing projects constructed by the government and its agencies on Friday in Abuja. Dangiwa affirmed that the issue of completed unoccupied properties was prevalent in the FCT and some states of the Federation, while many citizens were in dire need of accommodation. In its effort to stem the tide of revenue loss in the solid mineral sector, The federal government has trained a total of 120 youths and women in Plateau State on artisanal and small-scale mining. The week-long capacity building, which was done through the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, ended in Jos on Friday. The chairman of RMAFC Research and Development Committee, Ajasin Tokumbo, decried the low contribution of the solid mineral sector to Nigeria's revenue earnings, blaming it on the non-formalization of the activities of many actors in the sector. Tokumbo noted that over the years, the Commission, saddled with the constitutional responsibility to monitor accruals into the disbursement of revenue from the Federation account, has observed that revenue accruals into the account from the solid mineral sector had been abysmally low compared to that from hydrocarbon. The Lagos state government has concluded plans to shut and divert traffic on Marine Bridge, Apapa area of the state for repair works from Friday the 10th November till Thursday 21st December 2023. Commissioner for Transportation Oluwaseun Osiyemi announced the planned closure for rehabilitation works. He noted that in continuation of the repair works by the Federal Ministry of Works on the Marine Bridge, traffic will be diverted on the bridge from Friday the 10th November till Thursday 21st December 2023, urging motorists to make use of Marine Bridge Access Road to Area B and make a U-turn at Point Junction Road towards Marine Bridge to continue their journeys. He's assured that traffic personnel from Lagos State Traffic Management Authority, LASMA, will be deployed to manage traffic flow and minimize inconveniences. And as part of efforts to improve the welfare of its personnel, the Chief of Army Staff Corps, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, has performed groundbreaking foundation laying for the construction of Abdul Samad Rabiu Corporal and below quarters at the Muhammad Buhari Cantonment, Giri, Abuja. Speaking the Army Chief said the project will immensely contribute to addressing the huge infrastructure deficit in Nigeria. The Nigerian Army is currently facing in Abuja. Kikelamo Okere has details.
The Army Chief says Nigerian Army under his leadership will continue to give utmost priority to the welfare of his personnel as crystallized in the third term of his command philosophy, which is to provide sound administration and support to the home front of personnel as major pillar. He called on other corporate organizations to emulate ASR Africa and support the government in meeting some of the essential needs of the security agencies.
By the time these facilities will be completed and handed over to the Nigerian Army, it will go a long way in addressing the problem of accommodation that confronts our personnel, especially here in Abuja. We have a large contingent of Nigerian Army personnel that work and reside in Abuja, and provision of accommodation is a must for these personnel.
In his address, the chairman BOA Group, Abdul Samad Rabiu, stated that through the security sector support grant, the firm was able to support the armed forces and other security agencies in the country, noting that the management is pleased with the Nigerian Army for utilizing the grant allocated for infrastructure development. Rabiu, who was represented by the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, ASR Africa, Ubo Udo, stressed that the contribution of the ASR Africa is an indication of its commitment to development solution in Nigeria and in Africa in general.
Okay, so this is part of the security sector support grants from Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabiu. We've already provided grants ranging from 500 million naira to 2 billion naira for 10 security agencies and the armed forces. This is part of our program, and we're going to implement these ones first and then see what happens going forward. You work for the Army, eh? So the allocations were done based on, of course, the strength. The Army, Air Force, and Navy got $2 billion each. We understand that the Army, of course, has, of course, a lot more men. But we're open to individual proposals as well.
Highlight of the ceremony were the foundation laying for the construction of 120 units of corporal and below quarters by the Chief of Army Staff and presentation of souvenir. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, Joe Ajaro, on Friday said that he was arrested in Owerri, Imo State capital, by the police and was handed over to waiting thugs that got him thoroughly beaten. Briefing journalists in Abuja, the NLC president said the NLC wrote to all the security agencies before they went to the state for the protest on November 1. According to him, workers who arrived at the venue of the protest on that day at about 7 a.m. were allegedly beaten up by thugs with their phones seized. The NLC president, however, denied the allegation by the Imo State government that he is a card-carrying member of the Labour Party. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has deployed its operatives on election monitoring operations in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo State. The Commission's head of media and publicity, Dele Oyewale, in a statement said the operations were aimed at checking electoral fraud and associated crimes. Oyewale stated that in the Commission's drive to checkmate electoral fraud and associated criminal crimes, the anti-graft agencies has deployed its officers to Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State, where governorship elections are holding on Saturday, November 11, 2023. YERGA Africa has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to ensure proper coordination of deployment of materials and personnel for the cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Kogi, and Imo States. In a statement jointly signed by Board Chair and Executive Director, YEJA Africa, and read by Izenwa Nwagu to journalists in Abuja, the organization charged the Commission to ensure that materials and personnel get to these places promptly. Our correspondent, Sobura Usman, was there for Global TV.
YERGA urged INEC to resist attempts to sabotage information technology logistics preparation by collaborating with security agencies to arrest and prosecute defaulting transport companies.
YERGA Africa projects low voter turnout in the respective states owing to the spate of pre-election violence, a deep sense of citizens' distrust, apparent fear of intimidation, voter fatigue, and loss of faith in elections as a means to achieving democratic leadership. YERGA Africa advocates for 11th hour confidence-building voter education to improve voter turnout. Deployment of election materials. YERGA Africa notes INEC's deployment of sensitive and non-sensitive election materials to the local government areas in the 3 states. While this projects a positive outlook, YERGA Africa calls on INEC to ensure proper coordination and communication with the transport companies unions, providing logistics support to ensure early deployment of materials and personnel to polling units on election day. The Commission should resist attempts to sabotage its logistic preparations by collaborating with security agencies to arrest and prosecute any defaulting transport companies. This will address the recurring late commencement of polls.
YERGA Africa therefore call on the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security to ensure that security personnel deployed for the election comply with the Code of Conduct on Election Security.
YERGA Africa calls on political parties, candidates, and their supporters to commit to peaceful campaigns ahead of the elections, and on election day to refrain from vote buying and compromising the secrecy of the ballot. YERGA Africa urges voters to resist efforts to purchase their votes, turn out in their numbers, and vote according to their preferences on Saturday, November 11th. YERGA Africa is watching the vote observation for the 2023 off-cycle governorship elections. We'll just share details of our deployment plan for tomorrow. For the November 11 governorship election, YAGA Africa is deploying a comprehensive and systematic observation of the elections, which involves deploying the process and results verification for transparency, PRVT, formerly called PVT, methodology, to observe the governorship elections in Imo and Kogi states. YAGA Africa would also...
Voters were therefore urged to resist efforts to purchase their vote and cast their ballot in line with their preferences come November 11th. Swabra Usman, Global Television News, Abuja.
You're watching Global News Cycle, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles showing now on your screen. When the news cycle returns, FG to spend 7.76 trillion on salaries as well as other items. The news continues shortly with details for this and other stories right after this break. Please don't go anywhere. This is Global Television. Welcome back. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of the news cycle from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. And on the foreign scene, prosecutors in Burundi on Thursday called for sacked Prime Minister Alain Guillaume Bunyoni to be sentenced to life in prison, as he has been on trial since September before the Supreme Court. Sitting in session at the prison in the political capital, Gitega, where he's been detained. Bunyoni was prime minister from mid-2020 until September 2022, when he was fired days after President Evariste Ndayishimiye warned of a coup plot against him. He's accused of threatening the life of the head of state, undermining national security, attempting to topple government institutions, destabilizing the economy, and illegal enrichment, amongst other charges. Appearing in the dock with 6 co-defendants, he pleaded not guilty to all charges and said he should be acquitted because of a lack of evidence against him. The presiding judge said a verdict would be issued within 30 days. Citizens of climate-threatened Tuvalu will have the right to live in Australia under a landmark pact unveiled Friday. It is an offer of refuge as their Pacific homeland is lost beneath the seas. Prime Ministers Kausi, Natano, and Anthony Albanese inked a treaty to help Tuvalu's 11,000 residents tackle climate change and take up sanctuary should the worst fears materialize. Tuvalu is among the world's most vulnerable nations due to rising sea levels. 2 of Tuvalu's 9 coral islands have already largely disappeared under the waves, and climate scientists fear the entire archipelago will be uninhabitable within the next 80 years. Toxic smog in eastern Pakistan has made thousands of people sick, forcing authorities to shut some cities for the rest of the week. Smog in the country's second largest city, Lahore, has risen to dangerous levels. The Punjab provincial government has ordered that schools, offices, malls, and parks in 3 cities, including Lahore, be closed until Sunday. Over the past few days, Lahore's air quality index, which measures the level of fine particulate matter in the air, has hovered around 400 mark. AQI levels at below 100 are generally thought of as satisfactory. Lahore borders the Indian city of Amritsar. North India is also suffering from the impact of toxic smog. Air pollution in the Indian capital, Delhi, has risen to alarming levels. On Tuesday, the air quality index for the Indian capital hit 300 on 7th November, nearly reaching the hazardous levels of 301 to 500. Time to talk for some business now. The federal government recently agreed wage with the organized labor, salaries to federal workers, and other non-debt recurrent costs are expected to go up 7.76 trillion in 2023. This is based on data from the initial 2023 budget and recently signed 2023 supplementary budget. The country's central government recently approved 2.18 trillion naira budget to augment new expenses, including an agreed wage reward for workers due to the removal of fuel subsidy. When the budget was announced, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, noted that 605 billion naira has been earmarked for national defense, while 210 billion naira will cover the payment of wage awards. According to appropriation details from the Budget Office, 1.1 trillion naira of the total budget is the recurrent expenditure, with 1.17 trillion naira pegged for capital expenditure. The supplementary budget is set to increase the total non-debt recurrent expenditure of the federal government to 7.76 trillion naira and capital expenditure to 4.53 trillion naira. Despite recent moves by the Central Bank of Nigeria to strengthen the foreign exchange market, the Nigeria closed trading on the investor and exporter forex window on Thursday at 996.75 naira to a dollar. This is a 13.95% decline from the 874.71 naira per dollar. It closed trading on Wednesday. So far, the naira has lost 27.75% of its value since opening the week at 780.23 naira per dollar, according to details on FMDQ, OTC Securities Exchange. Since firming up against the dollar last week after news that the Apex Bank was clearing some of its backlog broke, the naira has been on a steady decline in both the official and parallel markets. Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas Limited, NLNG, has pointed to vessel scarcity, fluctuations in foreign exchange rates, and soaring oil prices as the primary causes for the recent surge in cooking gas prices. Market survey carried out revealed that as of the beginning of the month, the price of 20 metric tons of cooking gas at the terminal was 10 million naira. However, as of October 20, the price had risen to 14 million per 20 metric tons. In an official statement released on Wednesday, NLNG explained how these factors, in conjunction with domestic macroeconomic development and global influences, have led to a construction in the supply of liquefied petroleum gas within the domestic market. And on to sports. According to a Serie A champions, Napoli, Nigeria international Victor Osimhen has continued his recovery to full fitness with the club as they get ready for their league games against Empoli on Sunday. While his availability for Sunday's game remains very uncertain, Napoli on their official website on Thursday wrote that Osimhen had consumed personal training away from the team. The Nigerian, who returned to Italy on Wednesday, having spent almost 2 weeks in Nigeria to attend to personal matters, has been sidelined since October 13th after picking up a hamstring injury he suffered while on duty for Nigeria during an international friendly against Saudi Arabia. His last game for Napoli was on October 8th when he scored in their 3-1 win over Fiorentina. Nigerian striker Terem Moffi will be bidding to score his 70th career league goal when he starts for Nice in their away league, one fixture at Montpellier at the Stade de la Mosson on Tuesday. The Nigerian, who is on a 6-game goal drought, last scored for Nice in their away win over Paris Saint-Germain at the Paris on September 15th. Murphy has scored a total of 69 league goals playing in top-flight leagues in France, Belgium, and Lithuania. The Nigeria international has so far scored 43 goals in 114 leagues, one appearance playing for Lorient and Nice, while he scored only 5 league goals in 11 games for KV Kortrijk in Belgium. Super Eagles head coach Jose Santos Peseiro has invited goalkeeper Maduka Okoye, defenders Kenneth Omero and Olaoluwa Aina, midfielders Alex Iwobi and Frank Onyeka, and forwards Moses Simon, Kelechi Iheanacho, Taiwo Awoniyi, and Leverkusen starman Victor Boniface among a list of 23 players for this month's 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying matches against Lesotho and Zimbabwe. The list unveiled Thursday night also has goalkeepers Francis Uzoho and Olorunleke Ojo, defenders Oluwashemilogo Ajayi and Bright Osai Samuel, midfielders Rachel Onyedika, and forwards Ademola Lukman and Terem Murphy. Defender Jamilu Collins makes a return after a long layoff due to injury. And there is a first ever call for Bayer Leverkusen of Germany forward Nathan Teller. Spain-based striker Sadiq Umar also makes a return after a long absence. For more updates on sports, let's now join Sharon Ajay. That's it on Global TV News Circle. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @GlobalTVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you very much for watching. Have a pleasant day.